So the first question I'd like to ask is how can the layout of different buildings in an area contribute to overall functionality and efficiency of a company's operations? I'm sure to someone who is much more like in tune with the industry, clearly there's more information behind the scenes that a surface level kind of eye, like mine untrained, can't see.
Yeah, so when we think about that, like if we think of last chapter was all about the fork in the road that a company has in front of them when they figure out if they should stay in their building or if they should move to a new one. One of the topics of that fork in the road is that companies don't move for the same size building, right? Just to
Right?
save a couple dollars. And so if we're going to be helping someone get a larger warehouse or a smaller one, not only is there what's good for you today, there's what are you planning for in the future? And so part of the exercise of coming up with the programming for the next building is starting to inventory what a client has at present and then going through some of the visioning process of what's the future look like if it goes to plan. And so it's fun to go through every component piece of a building. And then the amount of learning and gems and insight that comes just from going through that exercise really lays the foundation for like you may be talking about people and departments and parts of the building, but what you get is the vision, right? At the end. And so this checklist from chapter 4 is just all about what are the 5 to 10 most important aspects of each
Sure.
component piece, and then which one takes top priority, not only in each piece, but in each aspect. And so I gave a list for all business owners to look through, and they're almost all equally important. And so another way to say that is if you get one of them like a drastically wrong, right? Like it can have an outsized impact. And
Yeah.
so we usually start with the total size of the building. That's what like we look for as brokers. And what people like to approximate, I need 100,000 foot building. Super, that's great. Why do you need that? And so when you start to then break it down to the pieces, 100,000 foot building with a small office pod or with a gigantic 2-story office, that's a simple, like a differentiator. But even in the offices, if we take an office within a larger building, it will change the size of the total building. And then no offices are the same. And so just thinking through offices in its very most simple, basic, like a building block is just how many people. Butts and seats is the moniker that like immediately brings you back down to what you're thinking and talking about, which is just people working at desks and computer space. And office specialists will break it down into larger offices for managers, private offices, windowed offices versus interior, offices with side lights. And so side lights is just like the window strip that's next to a door so you can see in and out, or natural light can go in and out, all the way to workspace that's in common. So that's the bullpen or the fishbowl or the open office area for cubicles or workstations that
I know that one all too
people
well.
yeah, that people always need.
Yeah.
And then just having done this enough time to know for every space there's a furniture system. And so there's a big desk and a small desk, there's a L-shaped one, there's one with the upper and lower cabinets. They all need different dimensions, they all need different aisle sizes for fire, life and safety. And then even within the workstations, within our office, there's different sized ones. And we don't, and there's a handful that we don't have that are like you'll see in some marketing agencies and architecture firms where people are working side by side, like a bench desking or bench seating is what we'll call it, where you'll have a couple people all in a row, all just like in parallel. And
Yeah.
so just getting a flavor for that is a great place to start. And then to understand, you'll get some of the cultural feel for a company when looking at the office space of how they like to orient their people. And some businesses have their own unique needs. Understanding if there are people in sales that need privacy for making sales calls, or if there are designers that are more sensitive to sound, or if that's a good thing for collaboration space and meeting spaces. There's only so much flexibility in that within some buildings. That's
Mhm.
usually where the person in charge of the assignment is going to sit and spend their time, or where the CEO is going to be based out of. So you always have to accommodate the office in one way, shape, or form. So that's one, like a limiting factor in searching for buildings that like will filter opportunities. And so we'll start with the office, and then some businesses will have an office component that isn't used for desks and chairs and computers. And so thankfully in industrial, you have the life sciences where we'll have laboratory space or research and development space. And some engineers will have testing space and like quality assurance space. So depending on the type of industry, sometimes we'll open up the conversation to what other types of manufacturing or assembly or any kind of that process that goes into the office space.